exclusively in Iceland with groups of artists and conservation volunteers, together with Jay Simpson, who is here on the call as well. And we'll be talking about our work in Iceland later in the seminar series. I'm from the UK. I live in Suffolk. I'm currently in Germany, on top of a mountain. Appropriately, we've walked here and it's raining outside. So I've joined my editor. I've written some books with Jay 2 years ago about the Westfjords of Iceland, introducing people to the walking trails and ecology of the area. And we got some very good project news. So I hopped over to Germany to celebrate with my editor here, Theo. And yeah, I've been helping Ali set this seminar series up for the past few months, and also over the last winter I was in her studio painting silk flags, which you'll hear more about through this talk. But yeah, lovely to see all your faces, and look forward to hearing your stories.
Great. So Sheena, are you there? Can we hear from you?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sheena. I'm also very new to the World Trails Network. I am an artist at Kinetica with Ali, so I do silk painting as well, which again you'll find more about. I've been part of the Costa Rica expedition, which we'll share, and it's a delight to see all of you wonderful people here, and I hope you enjoy the series, and we look forward to a wider discussion. So thank you.
Fantastic. Let's hear next from Charlie, as Charlie's going to be our next speaker in November. He's just outside Marseille.
Hello, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hope so. In the sunny Marseille here, thank you. Yeah, just looking across the mist coming in from the sea. So yeah, I just went to a conference in Vilnius on walking arts, which was very interesting, and reacquainted myself with the kind of the artist side of walking, which is slightly different from the trails. And I'm trying to put the two things together. So for the talk, we'll talk about that. So I'm mainly been walking in Marseille now, but have a Inspire London trail in London, which is a part of the Metropolitan Trails International organization, which the idea was in a way for non-trail designers, I guess artists, but other citizens, to create their own trails, design their own trails through cities, large, long distance trails. And the inspiration for that was the GR 2013, which was designed. They got an awful lot of funding and support to make it a national trail as part of the Capital of Culture in Marseille. And it's a 350-kilometer trail that goes through Marseille. It's the first trail that goes through a city in France. Obviously, trails exist in cities in many other parts of the world. But the idea is that rather like the World Trail Organization, that Metropolitan Trails International is kind of supporting more, I suppose you would say, artist-led or more grassroots-led kind of associations to create slightly alternative trails through cities. Inspiral is a spiral. So there we go. That's me.
That's great. We really look forward to that next November the 24th, everybody, Charlie's slot. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing for us to think about. How does the Walking Artists Network connect up with something like the World Trails Network? Where does it intersect, which is the point of our task team, really. I'm going to go next to Jay, because he's on the December slot with Henry, to hear from him.
Hello, happy to be here and listening in and meeting everyone. My name's Jay Simpson. I'm here in Brooklyn, or like Lenape-Hoking, in the Canary Sea territory of New York. And I use walking and both artistic practice as like a means and an end to research projects. My work spans the work I do with Henry in Iceland, and also wildlife issues like coyotes in New York City, and other various projects. So thank you for including me.
No, can't wait. It'd be great to hear your presentation. Next, I'm going to go to Dee, who's going to be with us in April.
Hello everyone. I've put my camera on, but I'm in bed, but you wouldn't know that unless I told you. This is looking out from a residency hut that looks out onto Ben Nevis, which of course there's a very well-worn walking trail up to the top of Ben Nevis, which I've never done and I'm unlikely to do, not being much of a mountain walker, more a long distance walker. So Ali, thanks for the invitation to be part of this network, which I hadn't heard about until you got in touch with me, but I'm very happy to be part of it and to hear how it does engage with walking art. My name's Dee Hedden. I'm in Glasgow, Scotland, and I've been engaging with walking arts practices for more than a decade, primarily through a long-term walking art project called the Walking Library, which is a collaboration with Misha Myers. And more recently through a COVID-focused walking research project, which explored how people use creative walking, both artists and those who just engage in creative practices but might not consider themselves as artists, how they used sort of creative approaches during those COVID lockdowns that don't feel so far away as I'm sitting here in bed, probably with COVID. So walking and well-being, I guess, is really central to a lot of my thinking, and recognising that both walking, in some basic terms, can be good for one's well-being, but so can art. Lots of research evidence is that, and so bringing walking and creativity together maybe just boosts both of them, and also perhaps can serve to diminish or challenge some of the barriers that there may be to accessing walking, but also the barriers there are to accessing cultural production. There's nothing equitable about walking or art making, and I suppose then well-being doesn't come without thinking about social equity and justice, including environmental justice or environmental injustices. Where we walk, who walks, how we walk, who doesn't feel entitled to walk, who doesn't belong in the places that they're walking, who feels unsafe, etc., etc., etc. So I suppose my tagline is there's never anything pedestrian about walking. It's deeply political. Thanks, Ali.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm really glad that you've joined us. You can bring a lot to this debate, and it was a pleasure to work with you on that last project as well. So now I think I'm going over to Deb, who's going to be with us in May.
Hello. Hi, I'm actually standing in the corridor of a hospital right now. So if I cut out, it's because someone's walking by. I'm going to be talking in May about a project at the Lost Pond that I've been doing since 2019. It's a geolocated audio walk. I've guided through the trails of the Lost Pond, which is an urban wild. And it's a 90-minute cycle that I meet participants at the side of the road and bring them in. They download a soundtrack that I've recorded of music that I've made with friends. And we walk through these trails and listen to sounds and music and talk about grief and loss. And the landscape of Lost Pond is a remediated landscape, a Superfund cleanup site that has become wilded in certain sections after being replaced, the soil remediated. So I'll be talking about my book, The Book of Walks, which acts as a walk itself in the reading. The reader goes along with me one time around the 90-minute walk, Book of Walks. So sorry, I'm a little scattered. It feels quite strange standing in a hallway talking when people are walking by, but I look forward to joining this conversation and hearing about how all of you and all of us invite walking as a way to process tough emotional landscapes, and the personal losses, especially today, thinking about how we live with grief, even waking up, reading the news. So I look forward to talking about that.
Thank you, Deb. Looking forward to hearing it. Okay, I'm now going to next move to Angela, who joined us a bit later. She's on our team. Hi, Angela.
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late. It's part of the storm, stuck on the motorway. I should be in Blackpool. But yeah, I work for Arts Council England, and I'm assisting the steering group trying to do some research about arts and walking practices that have been funded by Arts Council England. And I also happen to live on the Sandstone Trail in Cheshire. So trails and art and walking are quite close to my heart because I'm right next to a trail. I also do an awful lot of walking as well. It's not particularly part of my practice, but it's something that does inspire me, and I'm trying to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. You've been a great support, advocating walking arts to the Arts Council, which is great, a new sector for them to be interested in. Okay, I'm going to go now to Caroline. It's random now who I go to. Caroline Scott.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting to say anything. So I am completely random here. I've been sort of I've been following Dee's work and your work, Ali, sort of at a distance, and sometimes a bit more connected with Dee. So I'd say I'm a sort of my walking is an inspiration, but it's up until now been a relatively passive inspiration, I guess. So I'm interested in how other people are using walking in a much more meant way in terms of their art practice. So so I'm really just here for a nosy at this point.
Okay, that's great. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to go over to Natalie, and I think we will have to keep it now really brief, just where you are, and we can come back to you in future sessions. Yeah.
Hi, I'm again also random. I've been on a couple of walking libraries with Dee, and I'm just here just out of interest.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you. Tim. Are you there, Tim? Or maybe you're just having a cup of tea. Joan, how about let's hear from you while Tim's getting back on the...
I'm Joan Bullivant, even if it says Jenna Andrews. I didn't manage in time to work out how to switch the name, but at least I've got into the meeting. I live in Dagenham in East London. I've been a volunteer with Kinetica since 2017. So I've helped with various projects that Ali has organised or helped with, and I've helped mostly with walking.
Yeah, thank you, Joan. Carol and Emily.
Hi. You might hear some noise because Emily's up the other end of the room in a lecture. So I'm Carol, and with my daughter Emily, we've done some of the T100 walks with Kinetica. We just wanted to come along to see what it was all about today.
Great. Oh yes, Deb's in Boston we've got here. Thanks, Carol. So it's really good to have some of the T100 participants here. So you might have questions for them when I've done my presentation. So we've got Mr. S.R. Yen, or S.R. Yen from, I think it's in the chat. I don't know if we get it up here. Trail volunteer from Taiwan 1,000 Miles Trails Association. That's fantastic. So do pop in and say hi if you can. And then we've got Jackie and Phil. Jackie and Phil, hi. Do you want to say quickly something?
We're on Leigh-on-Sea, and we're connected with Kinetica.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, more participants. So now I'm going to launch into the first presentation. Hope I can get all this going to be fine. Oh. Hang on. Sorry. All right, yeah. Okay, get that off. Okay, so I am going to talk, this is the first of the seminar, and I'm going to talk about our walking, talking and making model, which some of you in the room know a little bit about, so I apologize if you've seen some of this before. It's called T100. It's a festival that's now been going for 9 years in the salubrious place called Thurrock. What I would like to ask you to think about as we go through this is, from what I'm presenting, and it's great we've got some participants, how effective do you think this model might be in strengthening the identity and voices of the communities through the act of walking, and also the use of various different kinds of arts activities that have helped us to gather and share the stories of the beliefs and the heritage and the aspirations of local people in Thurrock specifically? Has it made a difference? So it's going to be really interesting having people that just come across it from the outside with those people that have been involved, like Jackie from the very beginning. We're also going to look at how this model has been replicated internationally, which means I forgot, Nat, you're there. You can introduce yourself when you come to the presentation. And we're going to hear from Nat about what impact the communities had when we came along to work with Nat in the Sendero Pacifico in Costa Rica. Okay, so this is a shot of the riverbank by Thurrock along the River Thames. So we're an arts organisation called Kinetica, and we started using walking as part of our practice in 2012. And when we moved our studios out to Thurrock, they said, could you start a walking arts festival? Because why? Because we need people to get out, to get healthy, to get fit, but we also need people to connect to each other. And we'd really like to encourage people to walk, but they don't know where to go. So I was like, great, okay, but we're kind of hemmed in by the A13 and the M25, and it all looks pretty unwalkable from the outside. So this man here, Peter, said, oh, no, Ali, there's 162 miles of public footpath. I said, great. So could you and your communities devise a 100-mile walk that we'll walk over 10 days? So they did. And we went to schools, worked with Jackie, and we asked the kids to draw where we should go and walk. So it was actually a beautiful situation in some ways, that I had no idea where we'd be going. So the thing that I learned on that first year in 2015, when I walked continuously for 10 days, was the value on the art of listening. I really listened to people's stories, listening to talk to each other, listening to the surprise that people had when they walked to places that they'd never been before. And so the overwhelming response from the people there were like, oh my God, we've lived in Thurrock for all of our lives and we never knew these places were here. So that led us into the second year, which was T100 Stories. So we did a call out to collect stories from around Thurrock, and there was a major long list of over 400 stories, which we had to whittle down to 100. Jackie ran workshops with the children, and we had a writer and a historian, and we collected these historic facts. So this is the Empire Windrush, and the young people's response to those facts, and we made a little book. So I think the learning from that year was that this became an asset. So this book could be for the people of Thurrock, who could learn where they could walk and what the stories were that they might not have known about before, but also to say, well, actually, you people that think there's nothing in Thurrock, you could come and discover there's actually a lot in Thurrock. So there's still an online map, and those stories are there. And so it has become this ongoing resource. We brought all the kids together for a finale, which kind of shows, a really sort of proud moment for them. And then we went on to increase our reach to all the communities of Thurrock. So Thurrock is really close to London, so it is very diverse. It's also a dock, so it's where people come in and out from the rest, from all over the world, have done for centuries and continue to do so. So it's a kind of port base along the river there. So we did, the next thing we did was T100 recipes, where we went to churches and village halls, and we invited people to share their recipes, really asking them, where did they get their recipes from? Who gave them to them? What were their memories of eating those recipes? Did they eat them outdoors? And then we got them to draw the ingredients, their favorite ingredients from that particular recipe, and then print them onto a piece of cloth. We made these tablecloths, which were like placemats. And then we walked for a couple of 100 miles with these tablecloths in our rucksack, which are actually very heavy. And every time we ate, we'd get the tablecloths out and we would share the recipes and collect more. And I certainly feel that we brought in new voices and new stories to our growing T100 community. And that year, it all culminated into a community feast where we invited our international guest, Teatro Container from Valparaiso in Chile, to come and work with us to create this sit-down, fantastic, joyous moment at Tilbury Cruise Terminal on a very hot day to share the food that we'd collectively prepared and to sing songs and share stories. And for me, this was the moment where we started connecting the communities of Thurrock to the wider world. So there were common themes between Valparaiso and Tilbury of migration and migrants and people washing up on the shore. And so that was a bit of a moment to start taking the conversation outside of our particular community. And we kind of continued with that theme in 2019, where we did the Tilbury Carnival, which was a carnival that had sort of resurrected after 30 years of not happening at all. But it also was a carnival that wasn't perhaps like the one that had been a sort of British carnival on floats, but it was more reflective of the Caribbean carnival. And Tilbury is one of the things it's most famous for is the arrival of the Empire Windrush in 1948, when post-World War II, there was a wave of Caribbean migration into the UK that went to London, and out of that beautiful experience came Notting Hill Carnival. And a famous tune, calypso tune, was London Is the Place for Me by Kitchener. And we decided, okay, let's own this. Let's write a new tune, Tilbury Is the Place for Me. So we rewrote this calypso, in fact, in 21, and it started to feel that we were beginning to reimagine what it was like to be in Thurrock, and that it's a kind of a global place that's connected to the world. You know, it's a tough place, but people are up for it. And certainly we've built this community over the years. And I think it's something to be thought about being in a place and working that place over a good amount of time. So unfortunately, obviously, as the same for all of us, and Dee talked about, but then we were kind of locked down in 2020. But one of the good things really about lockdown was that people did a lot more walking, because that's pretty much all we were allowed to do, and to walk on our doorsteps. So our theme in lockdown was T100 Calling. It was a call to action to look at our environment and to look about the way we treat our environment. And Thurrock has absolute disaster in terms of all things environmental. So there are the Thames 21 litter pickers who regularly, enthusiastically collect the plastic out of the River Thames between Grays and Tilbury and Purfleet. And this guy, Steve, meticulously gathered and sorted all the plastic into different colours, and he washed all these bottle tops and things that came out of the Thames. And we worked with the kids of Grays to create this beautiful mandala as a way of raising awareness of what's coming out of the River Thames, and also to think about what can we do to reimagine what we can make with those things. So, and then having been let out of lockdown in 2022, we were invited to take a very special walk, one that we would never usually take, and we will probably never take again. We walked up the Mall to Buckingham Palace for the Queen, HRH Elizabeth. So it was her 70th year of reign, and she wanted to, well, the public decided to thank her for her duty and her service, but she also made some fairly amazing speeches about thank you to the key workers. And Thurrock is a place which is greatly inhabited by key workers. So we were able to select our key workers to celebrate with costumes and flags and invite over 100 people from Thurrock to walk up the Mall. And then we took back to Tilbury and had a big old T100 people celebration. And I kind of feel that that got us to a place where we've got a foundation of people who are doing these activities with us in Thurrock. And I'm now going to hand you over for a brief introduction to Nicole, who's the current T100 program manager, who's going to just give a very, very quick overview of what the next 3 years looks like for T100. Nicole.
Thanks, Ali. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here. And yeah, here where everyone's dialing in from. Yes, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what happened this year as part of T100 and look into the next 3 years briefly. So this year, our theme for the festival was T100 Sounds. And sounds worked really well, I think, as a theme, because it lent itself to some clear art forms and inspirations, but it was also quite nicely broad, so it wasn't over prescriptive. From bird songs and calls, sea shanties, a finale showcase of event of local musicians, to soundscapes composed of recordings made on walks through the landscape. The sound theme provided an inspiring framework to explore, tune into, and celebrate Thurrock. One of our kind of highlights of, I guess, this year's festival was working with a group of primary school children and a local multimedia artist, Fotis Beglis, and our volunteers. Joan, you were part of this project, I know. And we basically asked the kids to stop and listen to the environment around their school and to prepare presentations that they delivered on a walk that they led around the sounds they'd heard. And there were some really beautifully creative responses. There were poems, there were historic reimaginings, and audio snippets that they'd recorded. So it was really beautiful response to the theme of sound, really powerful. So now that we're in 23, at the end of 23, sorry, we have got 3 years of funding, which is very exciting for T100, so that our future, is secured for the next 3 years, which means we've got a new chapter. We've got a team, which is brilliant. Donna's here on the call as well. Hi, Donna Fox. She's our new development director. We've got an environmental champion, George, as well. And it just means we can increase our capacity to deliver on and strengthen our work with communities locally. We're going to be moving towards more year-round activities, which is really exciting because we've been hearing that's what people want. They're asking us, why are you only doing things in the summer? We want to be walking, talking, and making throughout the year. So we've got 4 strands of activity that we're focusing on now, which is programming, which covers the year-round activity, our walking, talking, and making, with this general focus on health and well-being and connection. Our garden is another strand of activity. Our organisational structure and governance is our 3rd strand, and our final strand is ambassadors. So this is something we're really excited to be developing as part of this new phase of T100, which is strengthening our commitment to developing young people, children and young people locally as the next generation of walk leaders and artists. And we're working closely with our community schools to refine and develop that model. And we're kicking it off this year, so watch this space. The themes, all very exciting. The themes for the next 3 years are, so for 2024, we had a wonderful community consultation event earlier this month, and we've got a theme from that event that people chose from conversations that day. So T100 goes wild in 2024, which is really cool, and is an invitation to explore the outdoors, the outdoor arts, green spaces, and also an invitation to be creative and play, which I think our local communities are going to really enjoy responding to. We're going to be focusing on a programme of 10 events, and we are committing to going back to our 100 miles. That's kind of slipped in recent years, but the kind of raison d'être of the festival was kind of 10 days of 10 miles, 100 miles, T100, they're at 100. So we're going back to doing 100 miles. 2025 will see us going down the river. We will be connecting up to Beach of Dreams, which is Connecticut's international project that's going to be connecting the coastline around the UK and beyond with creative projects and flags. And then in 2026, T100 is going to be coming home. And that really marks the end not only of this new phase, but the moment when T100 will become an independent, community-led organisation.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nicole. That's really great to hear. And we have also been invited to replicate this model a few times internationally, and we're just going to hear about that more in a minute. So we were invited in 2016 to go to Gondar in Ethiopia, and we worked with 10 schools, and then we walked these 10 schools. They walked from different parts of the city to come together. And in 2017, we were part of the UK-India Year of Culture, where we connected communities along the river banks of the Thames and the River Hooghly, so London and Kolkata. And we twinned those communities to find out what connection with the river connected people to other parts of the world. And we told the stories of each of those places. And then we were invited by Nat, who's here today, to come and work with him on the Sendero Pacifico in Costa Rica. So I'm stopping sharing, introduce Nat, and hopefully we can get his slides up too. So there you are, Nat. Right, let me share. There you go.
Okay, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
No, I've enabled it, I think.
Okay, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see how we do.
And sorry, now I didn't get to introduce you, so please do so.
That's all right. I'll introduce myself. Can you now see the...
You want to go to play the slideshow so we see the whole thing?
Yeah. Let me see. Sometimes let's make sure that it actually, can you see that now?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thanks for inviting me. And what I want to share with you all today is the experience that we had working with Kinetica on the Sendero Pacifico, which is a trail in Costa Rica, where our goal was to use art to engage communities in the trail. And just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm the chair of the Pan American Trails, which is a World Trails Network hub. And I'm co-chair of the Trails and Sustainability Task Team, which co-sponsored this project with Kinetica. And but I'm also a Chalk Talk artist, which most people don't know. And it's just a pastime that I have where I do drawings, mostly for children. And I have used it as a way of engaging, especially children in the communities in Costa Rica. Actually, if you look at that poster behind the little boy there, you'll see that it actually goes from the cloud forest down to the ocean. That was a little activity we did with children. I do this in memory of Hans Ray, H.A. Ray, who was some of you may know of the Curious George books. They're quite popular in the United States. I should say I'm right now in New Hampshire in the United States. And I grew up next to Hans Ray and got to visit his studio regularly. And he would draw these quick drawings, which I learned how to do and now share with children. I mostly do these in hospitals, but when I'm in Costa Rica, I also do them in the communities. So that's a little bit about my connection to art. The project that we did was a partnership. It was a collaboration that involved the Sendero Pacifico Trail, Kinetica, Pan American Trails Hub for the Americas, World Trails Network Hub for the Americas, and then also the Trails and Art and Culture, which didn't actually have that name at the time, but I consider it a partner. And then, as I said, the Trails and Sustainability. But perhaps most important, the 5 communities that we did workshops in. And to put also this a little bit into context of the Trails and Sustainability and why we were involved in it. So we did a brainstorming session at the World Trails Conference in Skiathos in 2022. And interestingly, what came up as one of the biggest issues for trails groups was engaging communities. The 2 big ones were trail maintenance design and visitor management, not surprising. But community engagement actually came out on top. And that's one of the reasons we decided to make community engagement a priority. And it was also at the Skiathos conference that I met Ali, and we had this idea, brainstormed this idea of a trip in Costa Rica. So the walk, what did we do? We walked, some of us walked, we also had some transport from Monteverde to the coast, from the cloud forest to the mangroves. One of the things the Connecticut artists did is before they arrived, they did this beautiful large flag that shows the entire trail and the communities that we walked through. The trail is, for those of you who aren't familiar with Costa Rica is in Central America and one of the thinnest parts of Central America. It is famous for having, for its national park system. About 25% of Costa Rican territory is in some sort of protection, either private or public. There's also a program that are called biological corridors that link these protected areas, very important for biodiversity protection, but they're not protected areas in themselves. They're places where there are conservation goals, but people live in these communities. And so the project really is, how do we create a sustainable landscape and sustainable livelihood for the people that are in them? And the trail is one way that we can do that. The Sendero Pacifico, as I said, goes from the cloud forest to the mangroves, from the tourist community of Monteverde all the way down to the fishing community of Costa de Pájaros. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you the walk that we did, the experience day by day. We arrived in Monteverde, and that first day we immediately visited the local K through 12 school, the Monteverde Friends School, which is a Quaker school. And one thing to note about Monteverde is that in addition to being famous for the protected area, the cloud forest protected area, and then also the biological research that goes on there, it's also famous for its artists and artist community. And day 2, we did a little bit of exploring of Monteverde where we saw both. We saw both some of the beautiful wildlife. There's the quetzal that nests in the cloud forest, the strangler figs, but also the community art that you can see all over Monteverde. And then day 3, we got into the work of why we were there. The way we structured the program was the Connecticut artists came to do a series of workshops as we walked down the trail. Those workshops were designed to come up with designs for flags that reflected and represented something important to those communities, whether it was history or biology, it could be social, it could be environmental, but come up with designs that reflected the community. Also, these were largely drawing workshops, but in order to also introduce the concept of the batik, also there was an example of waxing and coloring. The third day, we did another workshop. We went down the trail in San Luis. Again, the drawing workshops, and again, the demonstration of the waxing and the coloring. We then took a walk across the mountains to the next community. I've got the days numbered wrong here, but anyway. And we spent a night in a primitive albergue, a simple hiking hut. We had a wonderful meal, and then also got a demonstration of honey, of beekeeping, and we actually spun the combs and got to have fresh honey. We then walked to the next community, Guasimal, and there we had lunch at this trapiche, which is a traditional sugar making shack that combines using oxen to squeeze the juice out of the cane and then boil it down and eventually turn it into these delicious cakes of sugar. You can also see on the right the traditional Costa Rican ox cart. We took a side trip up to a community, Santa Rosa, which has a beautiful waterfall, and got a chance to swim in the waterfall. Shared some time at the local elementary school. Then in Guatemala, we did our next workshop and in a beautiful artist studio. Again, the drawing activities, coming up with designs, but then also demonstration of the waxing and the coloring. And then another walk to the community of Colinas, where we found a remnant of one of my past walks. You can see the Curious George drawing on the left there. I did for a child. It's also where you will find a Cristo Negro, which is a Black Christ from Central America. There are a number of these in a number of communities. They revere their Cristo Negro. I put a little QR code to a Wikipedia article if anybody's interested that talks about the Cristo Negro. But that ended up being a very important element of their design. A walk to Coyolito and another workshop. We got to enjoy some freshly baked bread. Here we were in communities where the leadership for the trail are all women's groups. There's a federation of 3 women's groups that we work with in the coast. One thing I should also say is that we're going from the cloud forest at the Continental Divide all the way down to the ocean. So it's getting drier and hotter as we go down. And then finally, we made it to the ocean, and we visited with another women's group. They're very active in mangrove restoration, and they're reforesting mangroves. And you can see the woman is showing their seedlings that they have for planting. Next day, we got a tour of the Gulf of Nicoya. We learned why the area is called Costa de Pájaros, because there are birds everywhere. We also got to see the construction of which is on the lower right there, of a cargo ship, a wooden cargo ship that is part of a project called Sail Cargo to create a wind-powered cargo fleet. And then preparation for the workshop. This is where the Connecticut artists pull together all of the designs from the communities, put them together into well-balanced, beautiful flag designs, and then did the waxing in preparation for the coloring. And that was the last part of the program. We brought representatives. We couldn't bring everybody from all the workshops that we did, but we brought representatives. We provided transportation. They all came together, and we had this wonderful mass coloring of the flags together. And you can see some of the beautiful work. And in the end, we combined this meeting of all of the communities that we had walked through with a general assembly of the Sendero Pacifico. And we discussed our plans and our work that we wanted to do in the next year. And in terms of success of this, providing a really effective way to engage communities, not just engage communities, but in this case, link communities. So we not only got more people involved in the trail in each community, but we were able to have this general assembly and get all the communities talking with each other about how they could better market the trail, and different projects, from the reforestation that was going up in Monteverde to the mangrove restoration on the coast. And it was just a wonderful experience. And just to go through, so you see what this is, these are the flags, the final flags with the which Kinetica has finished in the UK. And just to say that this is part of a larger program that we have with the Pan American Trails. We have international field schools and then expeditions to different parts of the world. Next year, we're planning expeditions again in Costa Rica, but also in Chile and Brazil and Bolivia. I'm happy to share and talk with people about that another time. And thank you. That's a sort of an overview of what we did. If you want to email me, you can link to that QR code if you're interested in our programs. So that's it for me. I'll get out of sharing and maybe we can get into talking.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nat. That was great. I think we've had Adam join us might be the international zone. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
We're at sort of the end of our seminar, so I don't know whether the time zone went wrong. Because
right, yes, I thought it was GMT because we're British summertime. So yes. Never mind. I'll have
anyway
on the catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll go into. We've done the two presentations. So I'd just like to open the floor really to have some comments and questions around the original question that I asked. What looking at this model to strengthen the identity and voices of the communities that we've been working with. Dee, do you want to kick off?
I thought it's great. It's a great model, Ali. It's a really great model. I actually wanted to ask a question about the centrality of the flags. I know it's about walking, but you're walking with flags and creating flags. And I wonder if you could say a little bit more about the flags, because in some senses that could be quite a territorial symbol. I plant my flag, I name this my territory. And that's not the intention here, because actually the flag seems to be flowing through communities and joining them together rather than territorializing them. But at the same time, I guess it could also be about placemaking, and each flag as its individual identity. Could you say a bit about the flag and that as a sort of how that fits with the walking? I guess it's easy to carry and mobile, and there's a practicality there.
Well, I think I suppose it fits with the walking in terms of, I think from both presentations here, the aim of the walking is to build communities and to connect communities and share their stories, which will not be everybody's aim as a walking artist or even as a walk trail leader. So this is deliberately, from a Kinetica point of view, was generated as a model for community engagement and visibility and identity. And I suppose, having come from an outdoor arts background, I did carnival before. It was about what would be, this is particularly my art form as well, what would be the form in which this would be effective. And I didn't really sit long and hard and intellectualize about flags. I just thought, I started walking in Wiltshire without any silks. And then somebody said, well, what about all your lovely silks? What could you do? And so I said, oh, well, maybe we could walk the stories through the landscape. So it was a rather organic thing, which I never ever believed would become such a model, and it wasn't necessarily the intention for it to become such a model. And what I find when I go into international spheres, if you like, and across the different UK nations, is, as you've said, the different reactions or perceptions on what people think we're doing. And they think different things. So, when we do when we do talk about working in Ireland, we are not calling them flags. So when we're doing Beach of Dreams in Ireland, which are the different, we're calling the Beach of Dreams silks, those who've seen them, are more like pennants. So we call them pennants, and sometimes we just call them silks.
Right.
But I would like to say that on Sunday, I'm going to go and be in Marseille. I will be seeing Charlie, but I'm working with a French company who I met in Chile, and Pierre, who's the director of Générique Vapeur, he said, Ali, I love your drapeau. You must come and do this. And for him, when I got to Marseille, I was like, I don't know what are you on about? Why are you so into these flags? And he was because he thought it subverted the national flag. He said, this is genius because you've subverted the national flag, because you've allowed all communities to design their own flag, make their own identities. And you don't have to have road closures or any kit, because you can walk through these streets. So I think it was like, as Charlie will probably talk about, walking through cities, they're on collapsible telescopic poles. So if you're getting into trouble, you can collapse down, and you can take them in suitcases. So they're just like a pop-up. And so that's
lovely.
But it's very
no, that's lovely. And it's lovely to hear more about that, because I've seen the Beach of Dreams on all the flags. Like they themselves become an assembly, really. And they have really beautiful visual collective quality. So certainly got that from Nat's last, like what Nat was talking about there, that the flags can exist individually and then you bring them together and they actually stand in for that linking of the trails across communities. So they're very beautiful. It's also lovely to see that sort of skill, I guess, being at the centre of that engagement with these different communities, sharing that practice and making. So I just never really understood where the flags have come from, so that's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Nat, you've got a comment to throw in?
Yeah, I was just going to comment, having done a lot of community work, one of the biggest challenges is getting people connected to each other and to their landscape. And that's this idea of sense of place, people being connected to where they are. And so to some extent, what you want to do is you want to get people connected to where they are. But you also don't want that to mean that they are, in competition with or conflict with other places. And so that's kind of one of the challenges that we have, is as we connect people, we don't want it to become nationalistic or regionalistic or whatever. That's why the trail is a really interesting way, because a trail is a thread. It literally, physically connects communities. And as the trail has its own identity, it reinforces the individual identities that are created in the communities, but has them linked together. And I think that's kind of the beauty of trails, is that they provide that linking and that linkage. And it's also, economically linking, because there's a self-interest that the huts and the guides and the people are, they want to support the economic development of the trail as well. So it's cultural, it's economic, it's geographic.
Great, thank you. That was a nice way of connecting in the trails. We've had a few people just join, so clearly we've got a mix up with our GMT time. So apologies for the people who have just joined. We've been here for an hour now. We're at the end of our first session. We're recording it, so if you've missed it, but we better be more specific next time. All right, anybody else who's watched the presentations would like to have a Charlie?
I wanted to come in on a comment, just because obviously the next talk will be coming from Marseille, which is where you'll be working with the flags again. What I will be talking about will be very different than the work you're doing with Générique Vapeur, but it comes back to the thing that you said, which was working with communities as a long-term project. I did a walk yesterday with some students from Switzerland here, and we were talking about this from the using some material from Walter Benjamin, because the woman who started walking here in Marseille in a really serious way, Christine Breton, in the 90s, she was using the archive. And so I'm going to talk about archival walking, but local knowledge, what really is local knowledge, and how locals incarnate the places that they live in and can tell us an alternative truth from the one that's told. And that walking is a way, as speaker just said, of threading together these places and different alternative Obviously, the visibility of flags on the street of Marseille is a different thing, and that's Générique Vapeur's sort of type of walking. So there's many different ways of walking through a city with citizens and groups. And I guess I'll be sharing something different. But I think the thing that is very clear is that if you want to do anything that really changes anything on the ground, it takes many years. And it is about territory, but a different way of occupying territory than putting flags in the ground, so to speak. There we go. That's my.
Great. Well, that's good. Well, I think that's a really good way. We probably need to draw it to a conclusion because we've sort of drawn the hour. But I suppose that was the intention of these seminars, really, because there are so many different ways of walking, different artists using walking as a practice. And the aim of this was to sort of throw it wide open and to hear from as many of you as possible to start creating that international conversation. And see what we learn from being together. There might be new collaborations and new ways of thinking. And we kind of kicked off because we'd sort of initiated the seminar and thought, well, we'll kick off, and then everything else will be very different. But also, I think it'd be nice to think. So what Nicole talked about with T100, it's really important for us to hear from different parts of the world and to get different ideas for continuing, because we probably made enough flags to last several generations in Thurrock, so we're looking for new ideas, and also we might have guest walk leaders, and so this is a place to share lots of different perspectives. And I think we'll get some of the World Trail Network in as well, so people that are haven't worked with artists in this way, and so it's just, let's kind of open it up to have this conversation. So I'm just really sorry to those people that have just arrived, because clearly we got our timings wrong. The clocks will change in the UK before the next one. So hopefully, I think Henry will resend the Zooms out again and to try and make sure that we're all on the same world clock. So, I mean, I can stay around for another 10 or 15 minutes, but I think we're kind of done here in terms of we've done the presentation. And you're welcome to email us back with thoughts or notes. We didn't really have enough time for a conversation, so next time perhaps we can get deeper into that. And I'm sure Charlie will provoke us with some questions.
Bye everyone.
Bye, Charlie.
Thanks a lot. Thank you again, and take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Nat. That was really good.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Caroline, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Really fascinating. Thanks.
Good.
Hi, I have a question. Like, wasn't it at 4 p.m.? I just arrived, but I couldn't get what's going on.
I think the 4 o'clock, I don't know, there's quite a few people who arrived. I think it's a confusion as to the UK time. So it was 4 p.m. GMT, we thought, but so I think I don't know what happened with the global clock.
Oh, you finished. When did you start?
Well, we started at 4 o'clock UK time.
Wow. Right.
So I'm really sorry, but in fact, I'm still recording it, so I'll stop recording it now. We're recording it. It's going to go up on the WTN site. Are you a member of the World Trail Network?
I'm not personally, but I'm an artist working in this field. I'm a PhD candidate, writing in this field.
Fantastic.
And I'm a trail maker by myself, like in Istanbul.
Oh, so, brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I work with many different organizations, but I wish I could join and heard what has been
How did you hear about the seminars?
I mean, I'm following the newsletters, and yeah.
Which newsletter was it?
I don't know. Was it your one, or was it the one that came from about the conference in
Oh, the
Ottawa?
World Trail Network. The World Trail Network.
Yeah, I'm also based in Ottawa in Canada, so that will be the
fantastic.
following. So I wish I could join you at one point, but anyway, like.
Okay, yeah. Well, come to the next one on November the 24th.
Okay.
So it's now all the times and all the links are on the webpage. So and for this year we've kind of mainly got speakers, but it's a trial. This is a trial because we've only just started it. So we're hoping that, going beyond Ottawa, we'll have the next year of speakers. So we're just trying to collect this network of walking artists. And
all right, let me ask you before we finish. Who is engaged on this walking arts kind of collaboration? Like, is it a group of people who is in charge of it? Like, whom I can contact with? Because this is my research also. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, my PhD dissertation is about. So I wanted to be
okay. Well, so I lead the arts and culture team for the World Trails Network, and that's a task team. So we are organizing these seminars. So you could, and the idea of the seminar is to connect different networks together. So Dee, who is there from Scotland, she's from the University of Glasgow. She's also a PhD, and so the idea is that there'd be lots of really interesting people to connect with each other. So you could email me, and then I could try and make sure we can continue the conversation. I can make sure that you get all the connections. Yeah.
Great. How can I?
Let me just. I don't know if you'll see it in the chat, but I'll just put it in the chat. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Ali.
Just copy that. That's great. And then we'll just pick up the conversation, and I'll make sure that you get the links to the next session.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay.
No.
All right. See you then. Bye. I don't know if David, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
This is David from Costa Rica. I just arrived too.
David from Costa Rica. Sorry. Oh, wait, you must have.
Let me open my camera.
Hello. Lovely to see you. That must have been
Hello.
the same thing.
Somebody made a wrong estimation of time, and I got a 10 after 10.
Oh.
So it was 9.
Must
9
have been, I think it's to do with the UK summertime and wintertime. So
just let me check so that for the next time you make something, I can synchronize. Somebody told us it was.
Well, that's also we're going to change the clocks in the UK. We change. So next time it will be.
You change the clocks, okay, for the summer and
the winter, yeah.
Yeah, it said it was 4 p.m. your time.
Yeah. So next time it's 4 p.m. but our clocks will change. So
well,
anyway, it's fantastic you're there. Wow.
Anyway.
Great.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah. So Nat did a great presentation. And yeah, we'll join in for the next time because we'll be having conversations. And we've recorded that session. It will go up on the World Trails Network.
Will it be on Facebook or where?
No, on the World Trails Network website, but that's open to everybody. So
okay.
I'll try and make sure that that's shared.
Public.
Share it with Nat as well. So great.
Yeah, if you share it with Nat, maybe Nat will send it to us.
Yeah. Are you on my Facebook? We could do it that way.
Well, I haven't been using Facebook too much lately.
All right.
Like, I don't connect much to Facebook. I started to use an app that is called like MetaSuit or something.
Oh, okay.
Just for posting. From there, I post to Facebook and Instagram, but I'm not kind of following anything now. I use mostly Instagram, but
Okay.
not Facebook.
Well, it
Yeah,
can
but
Instagram as
anyway,
well.
we can. Yeah.
So yeah, the
And so how's everything doing there? Like the
We're okay.
artwork and everything.
Yeah, we're still doing loads of stuff. So yeah, did quite a lot of walking. Oh, here comes someone else. I'm not going to let anyone else in, I think, because I have to go. Yeah. No, it's good. We're still there in the studio, and I think Sheena's hoping to come back, and maybe Sarah.
Mhm.
We finished all the flags, and Nat's organizing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them. They're beautiful.
Good. And how are you?
Well, now I have a terrible backache.
Oh.
I'm like laying down on the couch. Yeah, I had a problem like 2 days ago, and I'm recovering from that. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Great.
After that. Besides that, yeah. So well, that's good to see you. Say hello to the people I met the other day, and I hope you come back.
Yeah, it will be
whenever
lovely.
you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely to see you. That's
Okay.
brilliant. All right. Bye.
Lovely to see you too. Bye.